It is expensive. It takes time, but the payout could be miraculous. But it is expensive. Abso-freaking-lutely. It's really expensive. For you and me, it's not expensive for a government, but it's expensive for you and me. I can tell you all the cons of the space program. I can be the best space program skeptic out there by a long shot. I can argue point counterpoint. You have to learn how to do that if we want to make progress. And that goes into critically thinking about things, man. That's so important. Thanks, Newt. The road in Boca is now closed for non-SpaceX traffic. Cool. Well, it's an individual choice. No one has to force it on anyone. Just something you could do to decrease your personal carbon footprint. Oh, I hear you, man. And what I'm saying is, dude, I like eating plants. I used to just eat meat, right? Like, and don't get me wrong. Like, I still eat a lot of meat. I really do. Guilty. I really like bacon, and I really like hamburgers. But you know, I'm trying to lose weight here, right? Personally, and you know what I found a good way to do it? Fill up on corn. You could still have steak, right? You could just have less steak. You could have corn and rice, and that's way more healthy for you. And it fills you up. It's delicious. It's delicious. Just steak and rice with some butter on it. Now we're talking. Yeah, sounds good, man. I mean, serious. There's like a million other people streaming on Twitch right now. You know, if you don't like the content that I'm putting out, you can go click on another stream, dude. No one's keeping you here. All right. See what I'm talking about, though, Wes? I'm not saying you're wrong. I think you're right. I think that's probably a good idea. But gotta learn how to sell people on it, dude. That's the point that I'm trying to make. Sold! Man, I'm hungry now. Crap. Man, sorry in general for being such a weird lurker, but I love it here. You're this chat of the best. I try, Phil. I try. You gotta get the gears turning, dudes. It's so important.
Discovery, go at throttle up.
Alright, fellas. Hey, summer down now. Summer down. Come on. Reel it back in, bros. We're all here for space. Let's talk about space. Sounds good, Hellfish. I don't think I have enough to make stir fry. Oh, there you go, Zanku. Oh, man, no, you dick. Why would you link food right now? Why would you do that to me? I haven't eaten today. I didn't have any breakfast. Okie dokie. All right, so we were trying to figure out a way to not snap dock stuff together. And I think what I ended up messing with was over here. Check this out. We did up a little prototype. And this kind of right now is just a fun side project. What I'm trying to do here is emulate putting a shuttle stack together. And I want to see if the docking...
Go at throttle up.
Whoa! Oh no. Thanks, man. That's 20 subs. I appreciate it. I'll have honey dazzled rice for breakfast. I said stop mentioning food. Why are you still mentioning food? I'm hungry now. Why would you do that? Look at me, man. I'm trying to freaking lose weight. This is ridiculous. Eat these subs. I can do that. 5 guys are in and out. Oh. Dude, you're not a good person. You're not a good person. I want both of those things. Okay. Grab Shark, if I had to choose right now, at this particular moment in time, I need something that's just sloppy and disgusting. Like if I was gonna eat something right now, it would be a cheeseburger from 5 Guys. And like a cheese dog and some Cajun fries. A large Cajun fry, and I'd probably eat all of it. But that doesn't necessarily mean that there aren't days where I'm just craving a double-double animal style with a Neapolitan shake. You know what I'm talking about? You know what I'm talking about, bros? Possible downsides are eating less bacon, having to make sure you're still getting everything you need nutritionally, and for a small percentage of the population, it might be harder for them or not to eat meat. But on the other hand, heart disease is the number one cause of death in the U.S., mostly caused by overconsumption of meat and dairy. Interesting. In-N-Out for the win. Oh, I love it, Taco. Yeah, everybody says In-N-Out is overrated. You know, you can think whatever you want. In-N-Out's freaking delicious. Oh, look, somebody already said it. Hi, Grev. All right. I feel personally attacked. We'll find a way, dudes. To get Five Guys in In-N-Out. That's what I'm talking about. Druid, thanks for the bits. I appreciate it. Soichi Noguchi retired. I saw that, Thomas. Interesting. Force, your last got buried, dude. Apologies. I know we're trying to talk. I was trying to clarify what you were talking about. I'm still old school, guys. McDonald's McChicken or McDouble? McChicken. Yeah, Taco. Some days I'm craving In-N-Out. Some days, man, I can't have In-N-Out, so I go to Five Guys. We have Five Guys here, but we don't have In-N-Out. Yeah, Zonku, In-N-Out's delicious, man. I don't know what people are saying, man. All right, so, guys, give me 1 second. I just got to go pee real quick, and then we'll get back to this freaking, looks like a bouncy castle, doesn't it? It's going to explode, for what it's worth. I'm going to make it blow up. Not in a good way. Okay, waste tanks are drained. Okie dokie. So, I'm trying to make this thing explode. What I'm trying to do is test docking port hierarchy. So this is kind of, this T-beam right here is kind of representative of an external tank and a shuttle. What I'm trying to see is if we can, actually make a shuttle style system work and be stacked outside of the VAB correctly. I'm not 100% sure it's going to work. It's probably going to result in explosions, but whatever. Now, if you're wondering what the heck this pad is, this is a Kerbalized version of a space shuttle pad. Now, if it doesn't look exactly like a shuttle mobile launcher, it's like, wait, there's parts of, what do you mean? There are parts of that doesn't look like a shuttle ML. Well, it's not exactly 39A or 39B. This shuttle pad is modeled after the third shuttle launch pad that they made at Vandenberg Space Force Base in California. They built a shuttle pad out there. There's a picture of Enterprise stacked on it. There's the regular pads at 39A. That's STS-1. But there is Vandenberg. I modeled the pad after this because I thought that the way Vandenberg put a shuttle stack together would have been better than making a mobile launcher, and it would have been simpler and less parts, which is pretty much right. Yeah, King, I just want to see what happens. I've been really screwing around with hybrid tech a lot lately because I'm just interested to see what it does. Now, that's a shuttle ML. That's a regular mobile launcher right there. And then here's a picture of the shuttle's pad. This is Slick 6 at Vandenberg, or at least when it was in shuttle configuration. It's used to launch Delta IV boosters right now. So, basically, with Slick 6 at Vandenberg, they didn't move the stack out of the VAB. They had the VAB on rails because this is a purpose-built pad for a space shuttle. It's the only purpose-built shuttle pad ever made. Both of the other shuttle pads at 39A and B are derived from the Saturn V, which isn't necessarily the right pad because they were engineered for the Saturn V, right? This is a purpose-built shuttle pad, so they could, because the shuttle stack is not very tall, it's half the size, half the height of a Saturn V. A Saturn V would be up here somewhere. They could go back to using mobile service towers and SABs, the shuttle assembly building. So that's what they did. And then they built the shuttle right on the pad. They built it right on the pad, no mobile launcher required. At least that's what the Air Force did. I firmly believe that if the shuttle program was implemented with this, it probably would have ended up being cheaper because with this pad you're able to build shuttle stacks extremely quick. You can put a stack together really fast because everything is already right there. You don't need to build it inside of the VAB and then do checkout inside of the VAB and then roll it to the pad and then do checkout at the pad and then have the rotating service structure, all the et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. You don't need any of that. You could do all that basically inside of the SAB with the PCR, with the payload changeout room and the mobile service tower. Everything can get done right on the pad. You can consolidate launch operations. So I chose to try and make this. I wanted to try and make this at one point. And I ran into a docking port problem. This is the problem that I'm trying. This is the problem that I'm trying to figure out right now. Now, I ran into a docking port problem basically because in Kerbal, believe it or not, your rocket doesn't like it when more than one part of the rocket is touching the pad, i.e. 2 boosters instead of 1. The space shuttle, was built sitting on its boosters. It sits on the SRBs. The SRBs are the structural carrier when it's on the pad. The external tank and the space shuttle don't touch the ground. Now, the space shuttle does have the tail service masts, 1 and 2 right there, the TSMs, and those have umbilicals that fuel up the space shuttle in the external tank. Now, the SRBs are already fueled. They're fueled from the factory and transported with the fuel inside. Do not hump. So, those don't need to be fueled. This just had the fuel for the shuttle engines and the ohms thrusters, right? But it's sitting on the SRBs. The SRBs are the only thing that touch the pad. Now, there's a picture of the 4 SRB hold downs, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, and 4. Now, making this in Kerbal is difficult. It would be difficult. Now, one of the things that we figured out And the reason why I'm kind of going back and messing with it right now, just as a fun side project, I don't know. If we figure something out here, maybe we'll consider using it or doing something a little different, right? See, the SRBs are the only thing touching the ground. Now, the reason why I wanted to figure this out is because one of the critical steps that I ruled as too complicated in the past, hybrid tech fixes that problem. So, we might be onto something here, and I'm just going to kind of let it ride. I want to see what happens here. The hybrid tech can hold my SRBs in place, so we could potentially get around docking port hierarchy. At least that's the idea. Also, it's really cool seeing a space shuttle with California hills in the background. That's a really cool pad. It was really awesome. Hello. Yeah, that's a really nice picture. Speaking of SRBs, can you take apart the SRBs once they are stacked, like if you need to replace a segment or something? In real life, yes. In Kerbal, with me, no. Yeah, you can take apart the stacked segments, yeah. But generally, all these things are manufactured at the exact same time, Jax, and they're moved on one train. They're moved in segments on one train from Utah to here, from Utah to the Cape, or to Vandenberg. But that never happened. These are all manufactured and cast at the same time, and they're all inspected and QA'd by the factory, so that's very unlikely. Sometimes, like, if something goes bad during handling, like on the way there, they've had to replace segments, but that usually would happen before they go and stack it. And bad stuff has happened in the past. Like when the bridge that the train was driving on decided to not bridge anymore. Yeah, see those white containers? Those have SRBs inside of them. At least SRB segments. Yeah, that happened a little while back. Yeah, the bridge they were driving on just decided it didn't want to bridge anymore. Is this what you call off-road railroading? Jim, that's something. I don't know if I'd call it that. It's something. Yeah, there's a car with a segment in it that's tipped over. Man, I'm really happy that didn't find a source of ignition, or else there'd be no train left. Was this you playing railroads? No. Now, don't get me wrong, that wasn't recent. That happened a very long time ago. That was in like 2008 or something. So, yeah. That bridge has since been repaired. And, yeah. But, yeah. Yeah. Do not hump. Do not hump. But, yeah, they could swap segments, Jax, if they really need to. Sure. All right, so I'll show you the breakthrough that we had with hybrid tech here. The breakthrough that we had is that we can undock the SRBs, right? And the hybrid tech holds the SRBs in place. So I can figure out potentially other ways to connect my launch vehicle to the pad and just have a physical connection to using hybrid tech to hold the SRBs in place. We don't necessarily need a docking port down there for structure. Now, in this particular design, I did end up using a docking port, but check this out. Thanks, W. Yeah. Might have asked this before, but realistic, educated guess on what Skunkworks could be working on right now. Look up the X59. X59. So I'm going to try to induce a snap dock here. Interesting. See, that's what I mean. So this kind of T-shaped thing represents an external tank. Like if I put an external tank in position, right? If we put the ET in position, we could... Is Kerbal made in China? No. So will the hold down points be strong enough to hold the shuttle on the side? Yeah, Ryan, that's another question. That's another good question to ask. But check this out. It's not snap docking. However, watch this. I'll bet you if I hit this undock button, it'll blow up. Ready? It didn't, but it came very close. That thing almost popped. It was very... Did you see it? Did you see it jiggle around? That was close to Kraken striking. In fact, I'm pretty sure the reason why it didn't is because the way I built the pad. Now, what happens... What happens when we do this? Ready? Boop! Huh. See? That's separated. It's separated just fine. Yeah, the dynamic pressure is a little bit high, huh? Yeah, see, there's the problem with using SRBs in general. They're not... The gimbal is no good. But then again, that's because of overpressure. What's the burn time on this? Let me just see what the burn time on these SRBs are. Well, the jump Dama could easily be an explosion some other time. Man, if someone's clicking on this stream right now, they're going to get very confused. About 1 minute 30. Interesting. How much thrust do these things make? It was 3,200, right? I mean, that's actually pretty damn robust right there. I think the MET was going before ignition. Oh. I gotta see what the burn time on this thing is, dude. Because banana time, honestly, the reason why I'm looking at burn time at all is because I'm genuinely wondering, like, you guys want to see this crash, so I'll let it explode. I'm genuinely wondering if I could use these in Collins. Before, in the past, I've said no. There's really not a good way to do it. Land them? They're SRBs. Fellas, sometimes when stuff hits the water in Kerbal at a very high rate of speed, it overdrives the sound. Seriously, I'll try to turn the sound down, but sometimes it still happens anyway. So, headphone users, just in case. How are they rigid? Auto struts are holding them together. It tried to do it, but we turned the sound down. Did you hear it? You hear how loud that got? Wouldn't that be an easy job for the crane with how much they weigh? Crane... maybe. 86-second burn time. So that's, yeah, 1 minute 28. No, 1 minute 26.
Discovery, go at throttle up.
Okay, so my boosters on Collins, just on a side note, fellas, the boosters that I have working on Collins burn till 2 minute 30. Now, huh. All right, Novus, see you, buddy. Hey, on a cage, 16-month resub. Thanks, man. Well, the burn time is inadequate, Banana Time, and we could decrease thrust and increase burn time like what S just said in chat, but each one of my boosters on Collins have I have 4 Mammoth engines stacked on top of each other, so when all of those things are at peak thrust, when all of those things are at peak thrust, they're producing 4 times 3 is 12. 12 plus 4. Or, well, 4 plus 1.2, that's 50. Each one is producing 5,200 kilonewtons of thrust, give or take. It's more like, yeah, that's about right. And that produces 33. We're inadequate to move. But then again, if I did that with the SRBs, that would mean that the external tank does not need to be as heavy as it is because it's not carrying as much fuel because it doesn't need to carry as much fuel. If we tweak the Cal controllers right, we could do it. Yeah, that's possible. But that would mean redesigning the external tank for Collins, and we'd have to redesign the stack. We'd have to redesign the stack for Collins. That would take forever. It would take forever. But also, space shuttle. And that means we could do tandem. I don't necessarily think we could do SLS in the space shuttle, right? Oh, why is this so difficult? I hate being this indecisive about things. That's not cool. What we would end up doing is something similar to direct. We would use the shuttle with direct. Direct was a very, very, very much shuttle-derived launch vehicle. It looks like SLS, but it wasn't as big as SLS. Direct is basically a shuttle external tank, but instead of having the point on the top, it borrows a hydrogen bulkhead, and you have a cylindric LOX tank instead of the pointed one. But that's basically the external tank, and then you could couple different amounts of rocket engines on it, and it used the same exact shuttle boosters. And then it had a gnarly liquid fuel upper stage on it, and you could do capsules, you could do Orion, you could do a bunch of different things. We could do shuttle and direct. But if we did, how would that be sustainable? Like, you'd have to... I mean, the only thing we'd get back is the space shuttle. That's it. No, I know, S. It's doable with the 5 meter. I know. I know, man. I know. I get it. I get you. Yeah, I see it, but... How? Like, okay, so what do we do? We're not getting our ETs back now. And do I go fish the boosters out? Fishing the boosters out would take hours every day. It would take such a long time to go and get those stupid things. And then even if I do fish the boosters out and bring them back to KSC, we can't reuse them. We'd have to tow them to the SBH and... What type of engines did it use? RS-68s. Yeah. Yeah, Thomas, like if we tried to do this, it would literally be this, and the only thing we would ever get back is like an Orion capsule and the space shuttle. That's it. Everything else would be expended. No, but they are cheap and expendable. Shuttle architecture doesn't accomplish your goals and creates a massive time sink to try and recover the boosters. Yeah, Crash, if we don't recover them, though, then... Please don't hit the enter button too early, Hellfish. The PDF I have of them shows them using SSMEs. Oh. Everything expensive is in the orbiter itself, which you get back. How would they put a capsule in? I think they ran into the same problem as Ares with Ryan. They ran into the same problem with Ares as they did with the direct Ryan. So I think Thomas is right. I think I've made a mistake. I think those are shuttle engines. Direct and shuttle is a pretty potent architecture, especially if you're bringing back SRBs. In fact, I contend to say that this should have been made in 1981. They should have done this right out. They should have designed these two vehicles in parallel. It wouldn't have been that. It wouldn't. If there was any time to do it, now would have been that time. I thought you had a whole vehicle launch architecture that you and subject matter experts laid out. We do, but it's not finalized yet. Crash. Yeah, I'm working on stakeholder expectations and stuff. Yeah, I have people helping me. What we're doing right now is basically trade studies. Basically, none of that is really set too much in stone. The stakeholder expectation is to have a way to get into low Earth orbit and then have a heavy launch vehicle to give you the infrastructure that you need to A, go to the moon and back. That's the baseline. You can do that with a shuttle and direct. That's totally doable. But the entirety of this is predicated on the fact that I can actually make the stack work correctly. So we concluded that it's reasonable to think that the shuttle, that Collins could launch with SRBs. So, long story short, let's keep trying to blow up this pad. Can you explain why the nozzles are wider at the base instead of narrower? My brain is trying to convince me that narrow equals more thrust. Because you already squeezed it right here. John, you already squeezed it right there in the throat. It's called the throat of a rocket engine. This is a kind of a stereotypical rocket engine, is a converging, diverging nozzle. The explosion happens in here, and the explosion gets squeezed into this area right here, and then it gets accelerated. And the nozzle expands because when you accelerate that exploding gas into here, it gets really freaking hot. So the nozzle's there to deal with the thermal expansion. Think about it to basically just kind of point the already accelerated gas in the right direction. And the ratio from throat to exit is called your expansion ratio. And now why do rocket engines have that? Well, the funny thing is that some rocket engines don't have any nozzle. They don't need one. Like a Super Draco. That basically is what you're talking about. It has a very, very stubby nozzle. See that? It's just basically a fire hose. Like, right? But upper stage engines need a bigger nozzle because there's no vacuum. Because you're up in vacuum, the pressure doesn't keep the gas accelerated in one direction. Basically, gas comes out in a gigantic cone. So you need a big nozzle to keep that gas going in the right direction. That's what the nozzles are there for. They're basically just to kind of... you already squeezed the gas. You already made the energy. You just got to point it in the right direction. That's all. Does that make sense, buddy? Shuttle reuse would be the pinnacle of KSP. Even if it's not the cheapest or fastest, it's absolutely the most impressive. Yeah, yes, I know. Direct 1 and 2 would have used regeneratively cooled RS-68s. Version 3 would have used RS-25 since the believed time to develop an engine like that was running out. Okay, I got you. So was Direct going to throw away the RS-25s? Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, did you try arching your shoulders? Yeah. Again, great explanation. Oh yeah, no, I'm good at that, John. I can. Yeah, I can explain rocket science pretty layman terms. Rocket science is easy to understand. It's really easy to understand, and I know that sounds ridiculous, right? It's like rocket science. Isn't that the thing that's really difficult? That everybody says it's not rocket science. Isn't that difficult? Oh yeah. Rocket science is difficult. Doing rocket science is difficult. Learning it is easy. That's the easy part. Ask anybody that's an actual rocket scientist. You want to learn how it works? That's no problem. I can teach that to anybody. But I know rocket science. I understand how it works. Do you see me building rocket engines? Man, hell no. I value having all my fingers. Or a hand. Or my life. Yeah. Doing rocket science is the hard part. That's what that statement means. Learning it is easy. It's not that complicated. You're just taking an explosion and you're forcing it out a nozzle. That's it. It's that simple. Like, it's Newton's laws at its purest. Force, mass, acceleration. Bingo. You take a lot of gases, you explode them, they release a lot of energy really, really quick, and you take that energy and you point it in one direction. Done. It's simple. Like if you fill up a balloon with air and then you let it go. Literally that. That's it. It's that simple. Ignition is a great book, Captain Crash, yeah. Yeah, rocket science is easy to understand. It's really easy to understand. It's hard to do. Doing it is the difficult part. That's the part that where people die. Yeah, you don't do that unless you have a degree or something, or you really know what you're doing, or you're Elon Musk. Yeah, that's all. I mean, even a big SRB. A big SRB is just a bunch of pipes connected with a throat at the end, and it just blows up a lot of gas in here. And the thing is, it doesn't explode outward because you have a hole at one end and it just shoots the gas out one side. It's just basically a big pipe bomb with no cap at one end. It just out the bottom. It's true. But can I do rocket surgery? Yes, you in fact can do rocket surgery. They did surgery on a grape. And they fixed the Hubble Space Telescope. So yes, you can do rocket surgery. They've done it before. On orbit with a damn space shuttle. Let me see, Thomas. Jenny, oh, that's cool, man. Jenny has some really good pictures. I watched that booster land. They did surgery on a grape. Okay. I'm going to try to get this stupid thing to explode. It's because you were supposed to explode. Why would I want to do that? All right, ready? Undock. Undock. And then... and decouple. Uh-oh. is not going to end well. So why could you use direct but not SLS? SLS has 5-segment boosters, so making a 5-segment booster because we don't have segments, right? We only have a 4-segment booster from the Clydesdale would be difficult. That's the reason. It's not necessarily to do with your main propulsion. So that one popped off of its mounts, which is, you know, that's good. Yeah, okay. Did the grape live? It did. They did surgery on a grape, guys. I don't know if you knew that. Whoa, are you going to build a new shuttle? I'm just messing around, Bandit. Yes, I would. If I was going to do it, I wouldn't want to clip boosters. What I would, I mean, if you're talking about for SLS, yeah, I suppose we could do that and just make it look like it. Put another booster inside of make it look like it. Yeah, I understand. Yeah, I mean, yeah, we could do that. Yeah, we could just put a thoroughbred in there to take put a thoroughbred inside. I mean, does that even look right? Hold on. Let me just check it. Oh, yeah, that'll work. And we just screw with the thrust limiters. Interesting. Okay. Alright, I want to try to get this to explode. It's a good way to get some room for the shuttle if you need it. Okay, so we have two SRBs that are like nice and aligned, right? Say we put them in with the crane and now they're docked down there, right? So how do we put the stack together? We'd have to lower the crane would have to lower the ET into place. So that the ET in the crane would presumably be a different vehicle, right? So we'd have to undo that. And there, now it's aligned, and now, is that docked? So now if I lock this out, right, and then we auto strut these, right, if we auto strut to heaviest, they should be auto strutted to each other, right, and then just unlock that, take that, move that up, that doesn't really matter. So now undoing this should blow this up. This should explode right here. I told you I would get it to explode. Now, I want to check something. Please do it again? Sure. So what happened is that I undocked this SRB, and basically the game said, oh, It's undocked right there. Okay, is it its own vehicle? All right, let me look. Let me look and make sure that it's its own vehicle. No. There's already something docked up here. Okay. All right. I undocked it, and now I have to attach it to this. Now that has to be the right connection. Okay. Okay. Undock the SRB. Dock it up there. Oh gosh, physics already reloaded. Yep. Okay. It basically can't switch the docking port fast enough for the physics reload. That's why it causes a Kraken strike. We're literally reversing the hierarchy on the SRB. It's like crossing the streams in Ghostbusters. You get total hierarchical reversal. Total platonic reversal there. Okay. Wait, Egon, you said crossing the streams was bad. Oh, okay, good. Thanks for the safety tip, Egon. So KSP panicked. It basically doesn't understand that even though that's the primary docking port and that one's the secondary port, if I undock the primary, the secondary should become the primary. So what it does is this, Poker. It undocks the SRB, reloads physics, so it thinks the SRB is its own vehicle, but as it's reloading physics, as gravity is getting reapplied, the game realizes that, oh, there's a docking port. So then it docks the second port, and then mid-physics reload, it reloads physics again. So it basically does double time warp like that. Double time warp, so in and out of time warp. Very, very quickly. And basically the equivalent of that is like an earthquake. Yeah, it's like jiggling the thing up and down. You're shock loading it and it blows up. That's what snap docking does. You ever dock two things together in Kerbal, have it explode? You snap docked something. Hello, Mario. Mommy. Hello, it's a me. Look. Could this be used to make a flight termination system? You'd have to put the flight termination system on your primary hierarchical path, which is usually something that you should reserve for structure. You're better off just pointing separatrons at a structural part and blowing it up so the whole stack collapses. Alright, so let's do that same thing again, right? Let's do that same thing again. Let's see what happens. Alright, so we gotta undo the struts because the hybrid tech is holding the SRBs in place. There we go. So undo the strut. Okay. So now, the primary hierarchical path for the SRBs is through that docking port. If I separated this docking port, it would register that as root part for that subassembly. It would be like if I made this SRB in the VAB, place the docking port down first, and then attach the SRB to it. Alright, so that's the root part in the hierarchy. Now, let me check something. Let's do the exact same thing that we just did. So move this up into position like that. Set the docking acquisition force to very high on all of these, right? Take this, lock it out, right? And then set these to a heaviest part auto strut. Now, the next thing that I'm going to do is, well, we're going to unlock this, and then we're going to decouple. Now, this would be the equivalent of me bringing the external tank in and hanging the ET in place. Did you see what we did? It reversed the hierarchy. Why did it reverse the hierarchy? Why did it do that? Well, I'll tell you. The pad is set as a probe. That docking port, or not the docking port, the probe core that I have up here has vessel naming configuration on it, and it's set as a station. So the second that this thing docks to this thing, right? that becomes root part. It flips the hierarchy backwards. Now that's the root part. And these, instead of that being the root part on the SRB, now that's the root part. You flipped it. When you flip it like that, if you do it 2 times in a row, i.e. left SRB, right SRB, the game gets really angry because it snap docks and reloads physics really quickly, and that causes explosions. It usually causes things to blow up. It would be like if you took the pad and just went boop from the bottom. It's generally frowned upon. So what I'm trying to think of is there a way that we can get around this? So is there a way to fix that? It's not a dumb question, Poker. I'm trying to look for a fix. There's really no way to get around it. No. But can we figure out a certain order to put this stuff together to get it to work right? Yes. Yes, we could. I think we can. And this is the whole reason why I'm working on this pad right now. Because I don't know if it was last night and I was playing off stream or something, but it looks like I got a way for this thing to dock all together correctly and I don't have to worry about it breaking. I think the way that we did it to avoid the snap dock would be to... Alright, so hit 1, hold on a second. Hit 1, disconnect the struts, right? I think you can. There's no getting around snap docking. That's an engine thing, GravShark. That's what I mean. You can, but you can't, but you can. We can fake our way around it. We can't beat snap docking, but there might be a method that we can use to go around it. That's what I was trying to say. Sorry if that didn't come out right. So in this scenario, if I don't uncouple this, if we lower this into position, so unlock it, it doesn't want to do it. What about you? Well, that one docked. Does this one? That one, oh, it did. Okay. So now if I take that and lock that out, and then we set these to heaviest part, so what happens when we decouple this? This might cause a nasty explosion. I don't know for sure. Let's see. Yep. See? It in fact did cause a nasty explosion. Can you create a version of soft docking? I would think it would be a way to give the pathing a way out. What do you think hybrid tech is, dude? Hybrid tech. That's what hybrid tech does. That's the whole reason why I'm working on this in the first place, Hellfish. Hybrid tech is a way to get everything aligned. And if you could get everything aligned, you could potentially avoid a snap dock if everything is lined up. If. So, let me mess with this again. Let me try that one more time. Note that I'm not hitting revert to launch. Hitting revert to launch will change your test results. Think about it. Reverting to launch is a different procedure than hitting launch inside of the SPH. Those are two different things. And I have tested this. You will get different results if you hit revert to launch. You don't believe me? You can ask Das. He had the same problem. I never hit revert to launch. Always revert to SPH, launch again. Do the same thing every time. Especially if you're being scientific. That is very important. Think more of a situation where you can still dock, but you can mitigate the snap. Lining everything, alignment fixes that problem, Hellfish. Alignment will fix it. The more something is aligned, the less likely you're going to snap dock something. That's what I've noticed. Snap docking causes Kraken strikes and it causes drift. Okay, so hit 1, undo the struts. The struts are just there to put the SRBs in position. So now let's do... Now let's undock. Let's move this into position like that, right? That should be enough. Lock that out. Now we hit undock. Ready? See, dropping that thing tilted it a little bit. You see that? That's okay. Now, one of these things should say make primary docking. Okay, what about you over here? See, make primary docking. So, how is this hierarchy working right now? The hierarchy is as follows. This is attached It's interesting. Which one of these is the primary? I think that one docked first. So that one is... So this piece is attached to the left SRB, and that's a secondary connection right there. So this piece is attached to the SRB. Right? This SRB... and both SRBs are attached down here. I don't need the hierarchy to be going down. I need the hierarchy to split. The problem is you can't go docking port down to docking port and then make a loop like that. You can't make a square. At least on your primary structure or your primary hierarchy, right? The reason is because we saw that before. If I hit undock, it's going to blow up right now. Why is it going to blow up? Well, if I undock here, that means that this hierarchy is no longer going down this SRB. The primary structural hierarchy would go to this SRB now because that's what's connected to the pad. So we'd be undoing this SRB, reversing its hierarchy. Root part would become over here. Root part would become this. So that means that this SRB would be attached to this, which would be attached to that SRB, which would be attached to the pad. That's why the game causes an explosion, because it's trying to figure all that stuff out way too quickly, and then the game just divides by 0. It just blows up. We know that happens. Now, what happens? This is the curious part, okay? What happens now if I try to separate both of these at the same time? If we sequence them. Now, fortunately, this is the last thing that I was testing before we watched the spacesuit thing, right there. I have both of those docking ports and SRB ignition bound to the same group. Now, what I had previously theorized is that if we undock this, it'll explode, and it does. I'm not sure what's going to happen if we undock this. The hierarchy would get reversed, and this SRB would be connected to there, would be connected to that SRB. I think it'll still explode. I'm pretty damn sure. We could test it another day if we wanted to. What I think is, what happens if we separate both of them at the same time? Does the game Kraken strike? I don't know. So, I have a key to see what happens here. Let's reverse the control point there. Control from here. And let's hit that action group. Let's see what happens. Ready? 1, 2, 3. I saw that the SRB snap docked there. It did snap dock on that connection. But it did SEP. It did it. Now, because we're in engineering... I don't know what that means, but whatever. Let's go into cheats. Give me infinite electricity. Now, I'm not going to say that that's not awesome, but this thing is about to really, really explode. If it stays together, I'd be very impressed. You guys want to get sick? Alright, so now what happens if we... Oh. Well, my probe core's gone, so we can't test this anymore. So that doesn't really matter. And we lost the probe core because they accelerated too quick. Yeah, Grab Shark, right? It would be neat if the docking ports worked like struts instead of trying to create loops in the hierarchy. Yeah, I mean, and it would be cool if, you know, books were a television. Yeah, I understand what you're trying to say, but those are two different things. Those are two different pieces of equipment that are designed to do two different things. Turns out, Es, that when you use docking ports like struts in this game, the game gets mad. Which is why I even bothered trying to figure out hybrid tech and Kraken tech solutions in the first place. Because I figured out with the Freedom rockets that using a docking port for structure is a really stupid thing to do. Especially in KSP, docking ports aren't designed for structure. They're just designed to hold things together. That's like saying, hey, let me make this bridge out of duct tape. There's probably better ways to do that. You could, and it would work. I'm sure on some planet that would be very impressive, but your weak link is, this is Earth. Mythbusters did that? Nice. That's funny that they did, man. That makes me laugh. Anyway, so let me think about this. I gotta look down here. Please put the center core into this. You want the centerpiece? Oh, sure, okay. Give me one moment. I gotta figure out how to put it together, John. How are we gonna do that? Yeah, nice. That's... Those two black boxes that stick up, are those to assist the wings on the shuttle? I'm not sure what you're talking about, Sanshai. Oh, the tail service masts. No, fueling umbilicals. Sanshai, these are fueling umbilicals. SLS has two umbilicals that look exactly like this, but they're pointed at the center core like that. These are pointed like this way for the shuttle, because they fueled the external tank through the space shuttle. Yeah, those are tail service masts. Yeah, fueling umbilicals. That's the gas pump for the shuttle, and for SLS. Like I said, SLS has the TSMs right here and right here to fill the center core up, because there's no space shuttle on the side. Yep. And SLS is using shuttle-derived tail service masts. Yep. Are auto struts dynamic, so they update with the craft files? They are, Mammon, yes. That's one of the big things that I mean when you reverse the hierarchy. Grandparent struts, everything gets flipped. And they might act in a way that you don't understand. Case in point, ever dock two spacecraft together in space, or dock a craft to a space station in space? And then the spacecraft and the things start doing this. They start shaking around, and they start doing this until eventually just wobbles out of control and explodes. Guess what you did? You reversed the hierarchy when you docked. And when you reverse the hierarchy, you potentially could have reversed some struts. And if you reversed the heaviest part strut, for instance, that's way on the other side of the station, the game is going to try to run a strut all the way to that part on the other side of the station. This is why I don't use root and heaviest part strut. It's not a good idea. Grandparent strut you can usually get away with, right? Because if you dock and heaviest part strut is attached, the game tries to run a strut that's like 1,000 parts away in the hierarchy, right? There's a reason why you can only make struts a certain length in this game. That has to do with what's called floats. Float is a data type for encoding in software. And float is used to store numbers. All right? Floats are only used to store numbers to a certain decimal point to limit data, basically, to make it so you don't flood a computer with infinite amounts of numbers, because you can be infinitely precise with decimal points, right? So that's the reason why you can only make a strut a certain distance, because then you start running into what's called float point errors. Basically, the game doesn't there's too much imprecision. It doesn't know how long the strut is supposed to be, and it can't run the strut accurately, right? So what the strut starts doing is it starts being a little bit off, so the strut doesn't make a straight line. If you try to connect a strut over a long distance, you bend the strut because of imprecise numbers, because of float point. And if you bend the strut, what happens? You create load. And this is why when you dock two space stations together, you got to be careful about reversing your hierarchy, reversing the flow of struts, of auto strutting, because stuff can blow up if you reverse the strut or the hierarchy did something differently that you didn't like. You got to keep track of all that. That's one of the hardest things to do with building a launch pad, is keeping track of how all your parts interact. That really is important with understanding what the heck you made. You got to understand how the whole thing interacts. That's very difficult to do. That's one of the hardest parts. I have to balance this every time I try to make a pad. And what I learned is that if you don't balance it, Condor, the pad fails miserably and blows up every time you try to do something. Yeah, they're not dangerous. It's not that they're dangerous. Mammon, freaking Sidewinder missile is dangerous if you don't follow the manual for how to put one on an airplane, right? A nuke is dangerous if you don't know what you're doing, Chernobyl. Right? Like I said, it's about understanding that behavior. And that's what I mean about reversing the hierarchical flow on stuff. If you have stuff that's grandparent strutted, well, yeah, it's going to reverse the flow, and it might strut to a part that you don't know. It'll strut to something that you haven't tested. It's important to test how all your vehicles interact. That is so ridiculously important. Now, Mammon, my way to get around this is, I have a name for it. It's called the Kevin Bacon principle. You guys know 6 Degrees of Separation? You know that game? 6 Degrees of Separation? The idea is that you can link any actor or actress to Kevin Bacon through like 6 degrees of separation. So Kevin Bacon was in a movie with actor A, which was in a movie with actor B, which was in a movie with actor C, which was in a movie with actor D, which has been in a movie with actor E. Okay? Now, it's true. Try it. Yeah, you can always link an actor through another actor with at least 6 degrees of separation back to Kevin Bacon, which is really funny to me. Right? So, how does that... Okay, what does my rule have to do with Kevin Bacon? Well, one, I like bacon, so that probably has something to do with it. We've already been over that part. 2, Mammon, this is important to understand. My interfacing points. I keep them no more than 6 degrees of separation from each other. Doesn't matter if it's a first stage, second stage, space shuttle, payload, space station, whatever. Anytime you have a part of a vehicle that interacts with another part of a vehicle, try to keep it 6 parts away in the hierarchy at the most. If you have to do more, then you should test it. Yeah, you have to do more. But general rule of thumb is that 6 degrees of separation is good enough. Now, let's take a look. Look at my SRBs right now. Docking port, SRB, docking port. That's 1 degree of separation. And check it out. In this particular scenario, in certain cases, 1 degree of separation, it doesn't even do it. It still blows up. Interesting, right? It's a behavior that really, dude, it's a behavior that's really important if you want to get into really advanced Kerbal concepts. It's a thing that you really need to understand. The Kraken doesn't exist. The hierarchy controls the Kraken. Well, the Kraken does exist. The hierarchy controls the Kraken. You understand how hierarchies work in KSP? You can beat the Kraken 9 times out of 10. It's very rare in my experience where I haven't encountered a scenario where now I've been able to out-engineer the Kraken strike. Hey, Sarge, what are we working on tonight? I'm messing with potential ways to build a shuttle pad for fun, because I just want to check into some stuff, Sarge. But yeah. Cut to EJ riding the Kraken across the dunes of Kerbal. Yeah. yeah, it's funny. The Kraken is float point precision. Literally, yes. So, how would we do this? John, you want a center core, huh? Well, I learned how hierarchies work with coding and with 3D modeling and with Kerbal S from Maya. Yeah. Okay, let's go. We really want to screw with this thing? Let's try it. Hey, Natch, what's going on, man? I mean, Unity has a hierarchical system in it as well. Yeah, it's the same idea. Now let's activate some grandparent strutting. Let's see what this does. Set that to heaviest. And enjoy each other playing the kazoo. That was the lyrics, I swear. Alright, how would we do this? I'm trying to think what would be the best way to put this all together. That's you in the car, melded together. Hey, Craig. What's up? How would we hang a center core from this thing? Let me think. So let me get a 5 meter part out. Here's our 5 meter parts. Huh. Okay. Bruh. Bruh. The running back Marion Barber is dead. Ouch. It's because you play the kazoo. It's all because you play the kazoo. NASA will not release specific contract values for XVAS in the source selection statement, but will rather only give a percentage of difference. NASA is stating that they are doing this to protect the proprietary nature of commercial solutions. Thought it was supposed to be open source, Thomas. I thought the whole point of this was to be open source, so NASA could retain the. Talked about this. I freaking said this. I mean, Grant, don't get me wrong, a little bit different, but what do I know? I'm just some guy. There's no. See, that's the. You know what? That's something I didn't really mention when I was talking about this earlier. There's no fiduciary responsibility here. If NASA's using commercial, they don't need to disclose costs. There's a good example of it. They don't need to say how much it is. You know, someone won't take advantage of that at all. No, everybody will act in good faith. Yeah, no, that'll end just fine. Hey guys, you don't need to worry about how much it's going to cost because we're not going to tell you how much it costs. Well, how much does it cost? Oh, you don't need to know. Oh, that could violate our proprietary information. I said, dude, that's what I mean. That's what I mean, man. This could end very poorly if we're not careful. If there's... What do I know? What do I know? I'm just a Kerbal player. You know what? I'm just going to stick to playing Kerbal. When is the next Hunt the Streamer? Any GTA on stream is on hold for a pretty good while, Zalizator. We have too many hackers when we play, so I just decided not to stream it. We still race on Saturdays, but Hunt the Streamer is postponed indefinitely. Oh, cost plus with no penalties. Guys, it's not like I just freaking played Kerbal once and now I'm an expert on all spaceflight things, right? Like, I'm telling you. Got any new merch in the works? I hadn't really planned on it, John, but, you know, when the move gets finished up, we should probably do that, huh? More like cost minus. Well, yeah, and it's obviously cheaper if we don't tell you how much it costs. How much does it cost? Oh, you don't need to know. Oh, your taxes are going up, by the way. Wait, what? See what I mean? NASA being beholden to corporations is not a good look, and it's not going to last very long. Well, not last very long. I don't think that's very sustainable. Yeah, there it is. I don't think it's very sustainable. Long story short, I don't give a frick about your IP. You should definitely tell me how much this costs, because I'm footing the frickin' bill for it. Right? Your IP be damned. You best be telling us how much that costs, considering this is a taxpayer endeavor. Pissed right the frick off. That's what I mean, dude. Corporations. NASA beholden to corporations. It's great. Good idea, right? What is cost plus? It's another type of contracting solution, Ryan, that SLS uses to SLS uses cost plus to basically keep that solid funding curve that I told you about a little bit earlier. But the point is, like, the thing about cost plus is that if you don't have a good deadline and a good goal, then it just doesn't do anything. You overfund, underfund, nothing gets done. I don't know, John. Maybe. I don't know. Anyway, let me get back to this, fellas. So, we want to decouple here, right? And then... I don't know, dudes. Maybe I'm talking out my tail. Maybe I have no idea what I'm saying. I just don't know. I don't know, dudes. Sorry. Wish I did. I might be right. I might be wrong. I don't know. I hope I'm wrong. So I'm going to simulate putting a core stage into position here. Or an external tank. Could be either one. Big tank is just a stand-in for an SRB, right? No. No. No, not at all. What? No. No, it's a core stage. Yeah, but they can redact Freedom of Information requests in the name of national security or some nonsense. I don't know, fellas. I knew something wasn't stirring the Kool-Aid with this, man. But, I don't know. Maybe I'm looking too much into it. Maybe I'm believing what I want to believe. I'm not going to rule that out. That could be what's going on. I might not. There's a very distinct chance that your boy might just not know that much. I just don't know it enough. You know? I thought you were going to build the thing you showed us earlier. SRBX? No, when did I say that? I didn't say that. No, you said put a core stage in, so that's what I'm doing. You said you wanted to see this, right? Did I misunderstand? I thought you said you were gonna put a cork stage in it. You're a cork. Got him. Bonana. Bonana. What I'm going to try to do is see if we can drop some docking ports into position. SRBX is so crazy. I could make SRBX work, dude. Yes. Sometimes. So I'm not gonna whine about love the cap. Thanks, Nazalik. So what type of funding did they use for Apollo? Remember that ideal funding curve that I showed you a second ago, Ryan? That. And it worked. Ryan, the lesson that they learned from the Apollo program, this is a good lesson to teach. All right? It's a good lesson to teach. The lesson is that you have no freaking clue how much it's going to cost. You don't know. You don't know. You know how I know? Because they didn't know how much the Apollo program was going to cost. They built something, right? They started making stuff, and then they figured out how much it was going to cost because they actually built it. They didn't do a cost estimate. They just said, our goal is to go to the moon. Cost be damned. Let's do what we need to do to get to the moon. Purpose, goal. Not anything more, not anything less. Right? So they did. And the space program worked. And it worked correctly. It was working as designed, as intended. Every time we haven't done that, we ended up with a fragmented space program, or half of a space program. Shuttle, SLS, good examples of that. All right, fellas, you're getting a little too feisty in chat for me, okay? Calm it down, boys. Simmer down now. Simmer down now. Okay, simmer down. You know, simmer down. These are just there as a guide to hold this thing in place. Let's do SVI, SVI. That's just to make sure this doesn't deviate out. So there's no new set timeline for when the spacesuits will be delivered for the contracts that were announced. Sorry, out of the space news loop. More or less, Blinga, they said they'll be ready for Artemis 3, which that's not the worst thing, but when's Artemis 3? I don't know, 2025, 2026 maybe? Not a good look, man. I understand what they're trying to do. I don't mind it. It is a way to do things and it's going to work. But also, part of me thinks in the back of my mind it would have been easier to just build the space suits in-house. And the fact that they didn't is a little bit annoying. Crash, I think it's reasonable to assume that Artemis 3 is going to fly. Flight hardware has been made for it already, but, like, yeah, as you say, stranger things have happened. And everybody thought Apollo 18 was going to fly, and then they said, nah, never mind. So, yeah, just food for thought, I suppose. It's kind of bothering me. Guys, I don't want to really talk about this much anymore, okay? Let's key this up, and then let's look at this. Now, say this was us putting our external tank in position. Ready? It's like playing ball in a cup.
Discovery, go at throttle up.
Ball in a cup, ball in a cup, ball in a cup, ball in a cup. Okay, it looks like we got it that time. Now what happens if we do this? Huh. Ah. Bueno, Natch, that's cool. My brother types like EJ. They both probably took a typing class. Me, I'm just 100. I type with 4 fingers. Farm. No, it's not a good habit to be in. I type like this. I wish I could make that up. I didn't pay attention in typing class, man. Now, what happens when this happens? Ready? Boop! Yeah, I type with... Yeah, S, but this has no probe core on it, so it registered it as debris. Docking port hierarchy rules. We gotta put a probe core on this thing and see what happens. Oh my lord! Nope, that's not good. Edwards, what happened? Hesitated. Would you mind telling me why little Tiffany needed to die? Could you get an engineering Kerbal to strut it together? No need, King. A docking port on a hydraulic would get us a good aft attachment port. Yeah. Or it doesn't even need to be that docking port on a decoupler. That'll work. We're only using the tank once, remember. Everything is going exactly as intended here. You might not believe that. I lied. That's not gone right at all. We could also use auto strut to fake it, King, if we really know what we're doing. Could the thermal bearings alone hold that until the SRBs run out? They pretty much just were. Excuse me. So, S, that's not the whole thing here, right? We have to... We're going to have to go up here, and I'm going to have to put a probe core on it or something. He said moron. So now we got to select this probe. And remember, we need the right vessel hierarchy. That's really important. Now why? Why do we need the right vessel hierarchy for this? Well, I want to make sure that we take control of the right vehicle when we separate from the pad. When we go to launch the vehicle, I don't want control to default to the pad because then the vehicle's just kind of flying by itself. Not a good idea. That's not a good thing to do. Especially with a shuttle or something. Yeah, not a good idea. So, I need to make sure that when we separate from the pad, we're controlling the vehicle, like this. So we need to set that to base. We really want to screw with this thing. We really want to mess it up. We really want to make it tick. That's the right way to do it. These probe cores down here, they're set to probe. That one is set to base. That one is set to take priority. So, it's going to snap dock to this. Pad will actually dock to booster in this particular scenario. You have to do it this way. Or else you're not going to control the vehicle when it leaves the pad. You're going to default control to the pad itself, which is probably not a good idea. It's probably not a good thing. Set it to buttery biscuit base. I knew it, Jonathan. I don't want to talk about it. It's very depressing. Yeah, Alleviate. I've seen it. No, Def, I haven't seen it. Vessel priority. See what I'm talking about? Only issue is with that you can't control the gimbal if it's just Kraken Tech connected. See what I mean? You run it. See, this is what I mean. You're running into a lot of problems here. And I made sure that that blew up right at the end of the song because it was funny. Base knowledge. Wobble, 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 wobble. Are you using the bearings to make this craft reusable? Chrisu, hey, what's going on? I'm using it to see if it's possible to use hybrid tech to put a shuttle style stack together, i.e. 2 boosters with a center core like shuttle or SLS or whatever. This is kind of just a little experiment. I just want to see if this is possible. So you know what we'll do? Basically make it to get these, basically get it to have these slide into position. Yeah, with my shuttle pad, I got around this problem by having the ET connect to the pad instead of the boosters. Saved a lot of headaches. Yeah, I know. I know that that's how most people get around it, but how are we going to do that with a shuttle? How's that going to work? We'll go to launch a shuttle and the thwang maneuver won't work. That means the shuttle will do this when you launch it. You know. Well, it might be okay. I don't know. Have you ever tried Stellaris before? I have not played Stellaris, but I know of it. So, based off of what we saw before, what I'm about to do should work. Should. It seems like as sequencing it will get it to work. Sequencing it will get this thing to work correctly. But that, like getting both docking ports to undock at the same time and having the stack snap together on liftoff would work. But do we really want to run that risk? What happens if I'm just slightly misaligned and I go to do it and it launches the shuttle with one SRB or an SLS stack with one SRB? That's not a good idea. This thing has to be foolproof, dude. It has to be foolproof. If it's not, then it ain't gonna work. I think I screwed up. I gotta try to drop the tank. We gotta try to drop the tank right into the, right into this while decoupling. Let's see what happens. Oh, gonna make it. Gonna make it. Fall into the... Yep. Not aligned. Have you tested the old hinge that used the fuselage tube and to stay put, Nick? No, Luizo, I haven't. That wasn't the strongest one, but yeah, see? It snap docked into position. And because it was pad docking to the core stage, it screwed up. It broke. Ah, not what I wanted. So, how do we could always do ET first, I suppose. But how? How would we do it last? Okay. Docking port on the bottom of the ET. Twang is still there when the vectors ignite. Yeah. Place the docking ports vertical. Uh, that's not gonna... Direction to docking board doesn't necessarily beat the vessel hierarchy, Louiso. You're not trying to solve the same problem that we're trying to solve. But that's okay. That's not a problem. Okay, so let's try to do that. I have my external tank attached on a decoupler. It works just the same as a docking port. Let's see what it does. So this would mean we would need to free float the SRBs, and they would need to just sit there, which is the idea that we basically had before. Let's see if it does it. I really don't like changing rockets every couple of days. We will never get back into space, to be honest. I'm not... Mars, that's not what I'm doing. I'm not changing rockets every day. I'm doing what's called trade studies. I'm doing trade studies. I'm checking different things. I'm checking different designs. This is the part where we just kind of figure out what we need to do. This hybrid tech could open up potential that we don't, that could be very useful to us in the future. I'm doing a lot of R&D. This hybrid tech stuff will help me if we decide to use Project Ares, which is what I kind of want to do. And I'm still want to do it just because there's so much stuff that can go wrong here. Just stacking a regular vehicle could be better. But I'm not, oh, I'm going to do this. Oh, I'm going to do this. Oh, I'm going to do this. No, I changed my mind. No, I'm going to do this. That's not what I'm doing here. And that's a very important thing to understand. That's not what I'm doing. I'm just checking different things here. I'm checking different things using hybrid tech to make sure that I've considered all ideas equally. That's what I'm doing. That's what I'm trying to figure out. That's very important. It's a very important thing to understand. It gets caught every time. It's very frustrating. Apparently Rush made a song with the STS-1 crew about STS-1. Countdown. It's my favorite song by them. I told you that was my favorite song by them the other day, Zay. We had this conversation. It's just the way I have the piston mounted, John. It's not going to work like this. It's fine. Have rules on stream music changed at all, or is DMCA music reigning supreme? I don't know, Blue, and at this point I'm too afraid to ask. It's complicated stuff, JM. I already have guide reels, Chrisu. You alright? You look worn out? I'm fine. Yeah. Yeah. There's a lot of stress lately, man. I don't want to work on this anymore. We can go work on something else. I'll mess with this. I'll mess with this problem off stream. What else do we want to mess with? Check this out. I know us. I know. Problem is that's notoriously unreliable. That's cool. That's cool, Bandit. Yeah. Yeah, we can go work on the MLV, but I still haven't really come up with a good way of what I want to do for I still haven't really come up with a good idea for how I want to land the first stage, but we can just do the tricycle stuff. Alright, so I'm going to need some struts to hold this into position. Whatever happened to KSP 2? 2023 got delayed. What does MLV stand for? Medium Launch Vehicle. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, my medium-duty launch vehicle. Trying to develop the landing legs for it right now. I want something simple. We tried the flip out landing legs, and those do work. They work okay. Maybe we don't need that strut there. They work all right, but I can't help but think that we could probably do better with just a telescoping landing leg. So just something that pops out the bottom, like this. But on the way up, it can stay concealed inside of this arrow shell. They're skippers, Sanchai. Yeah, skipper engines. So the idea is that this thing will... And then when the rocket is actually flying, they'll just be up here like this, in this position. And I'll have a hydraulic there that pushes the whole thing out. Yes, that would be the idea. Yeah. Totally real hydraulic noises. I figured it's probably not what people want to hear, Angry Bee. The sound of the hydraulic fluid being moved. Sounds like a giant dying giraffe. Ooh, ah, ooh, ah. You need to make a sound like a dying giraffe. Hey, Orson. You want to hear the most annoying sound in the world? Ah! Mock. Yeah. Ing. Yeah. Bird. Yeah. 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 Do your best TIE Fighter impression? No, I'm good. I'm alright. Are you happy now? That really hurt. You may indulge yourself. Alright. Well, fellas, I don't mind this, the telescoping legs and stuff, but